I didn't die that day, but someone very much wanted me dead, because in their eyes my blood was as worthless as my skin color. My name is Marcus Ellison. I'm 38 years old. I'm a trauma surgeon. 12 years at Hope Memorial Hospital, one of the largest hospitals in this country. I'm a Harvard graduate. I have 2 children, a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old. For me, the most sacred place in life is the operating room, because there is no race, no politics, just a battle between life and death. But I was wrong. One day I was one of those who lay on that table. And that day, I saw that my blood type was not red as B positive, but only as black. That day started ordinary. I got off shift at 7:30 in the morning, a 16-hour night shift. 3 patients had been stabilized in intensive care. One of them had not survived the night. I was tired but at peace, because the deepest peace a doctor can have about his profession is to have saved a life. I turned the ignition of my car. I didn't have coffee with me when I left the hospital parking lot, but I had a slight smile on my face because I was going home. But a few blocks away, I came to an intersection and everything went black. I hit the brakes. Nothing happened. It was like my foot hit the ground in a vacuum. It was like there was nothing under the brake pedal. I swerved on reflex, but it was too late. A huge transport truck coming from the right. It collapsed on me like a metal wall in front of my eyes. In the blink of an eye, everything turned into a pile of glass, blood, and metal. The steering wheel dug into my chest. My right leg was trapped under the seat. Something hot ran down my face. Blood. But consciousness was clear. I was alive. And with a doctor's instinct, it took me less than 10 seconds to realize I was bleeding internally. The ambulance arrived, but the real accident was about to begin. They pulled me out of the jam on the side of the road. They stabilized my spine, and they put me on a stretcher. I told them who I was. My name is Dr. Marcus Ellison. I work at Hope Memorial. The paramedic was surprised. "That's where we're going," he said. I felt a little relief on my face. I was going to my own home, my own family, my own colleagues. But here I was, right here. The real collision has begun, not a metal truck. This time I was hit by a system without a conscience. The chill in the hospital corridor. They confirmed my identity at the entrance to the hospital. Registration was opened. I was supposed to be taken to the emergency room on a stretcher, but they pulled me into a room close to the waiting area, the department where the 3rd priority patients are taken. At first I attributed this to fatigue. Maybe it's busy, I said. They know me, they're not worried, I thought. But then the hour passed, when not minutes but even seconds were precious. Only silence began to hover around my stretcher. Colleagues avoiding eye contact. Nurse Chloe. How many nights we've spent together in the OR until dawn. He passed by me, but he didn't look at me. It was like I was a stranger. Dr. Hayes, the emergency doctor we've been working with for years. He looked me in the eye. He looked at my file. Then he tilted his head to the side and walked away as if he remembered something else. As I lay there, people were making decisions right next to me, but none of it was about me. "Let us transfer you to another hospital." Whispers came from behind the curtain in the next room. "He's our employee, but what about his insurance? He's black. Let's not get into trouble. Let us transfer him to another hospital so we don't have to be responsible." At that moment, it wasn't an accident. It was betrayal that hurt me. Lying like a living corpse, my body was slowly shutting down. A piercing pain in my left rib indicated a possible swollen spleen. The internal bleeding was deepening. Breathing became difficult, but no one even gave me oxygen. I just lay on the stretcher, like a corpse, an invisible body. I was judged only by the color of my skin. After 12 years of serving this hospital day and night, I was left alone, dying in my own corridors. Isn't that man a doctor? At that moment, a young intern, a first-year student, his face still full of enthusiasm, came up to me. He stopped when he saw me. Then he looked at the file, and without paying attention to anyone, he asked loudly, "Isn't this guy a doctor? Isn't that Ellison?" It was like the wall cracked. That scream broke something, because there was silence. The whole staff turned to me at that moment. But in that moment, the only emotion on their faces was not regret, but fear of being caught. existence, but not my anger. I immediately hired a lawyer, but I didn't intend to sue. To expose the truth, I knew this was not simple negligence. This was systematic discrimination, and I started collecting evidence of what they had been doing, right in front of me for years. I returned to the hospital, but I was no longer just a doctor. I was an observer. I recorded every conversation, the whispering of nurses, conversations in the chief physician's office, deleted traces in files. The system was very arrogant. They believed that what they were doing could not be exposed. But they forgot one thing. I was still here, and nothing would ever be the same. I went through the email archives. Some messages had been deleted, but they were still there on the server side. There were files where the hospital administration had categorized some urgent cases as non-priority. All of them, the same profile of patients, black, uninsured, or working class. Discrimination was not an accident. It had become a policy. One day, I found Dr. Freeman, who retired years ago. He was 70 years old, tired but still upright. I told him what had happened. Tears came to his eyes, and he said only one sentence. I shut up too, but don't be silent. That day I decided, I will break this chain of silence. I no longer have a case file. There was a file full of evidence, written instructions that changed the order of emergency response, patient forms marked by color, patients sent away quietly, and of course my own case. These documents were the silent scream of a doctor left to die on a stretcher. Recorded live, I didn't rush anything. I made every move in cold blood. I never confronted anyone, but I recorded everyone's faces, their silence, their running away, their averting their eyes. And now the plan was almost complete. Only one thing was missing, the moment of truth. I waited for 3 months. I watched. I observed. And finally the day came. The hospital management was organizing a press conference. They were supposed to introduce their new ethnic diversity policy. It was a showcase of lies. But that day, I was going to show you the back of that display case full of broken glass. 2 hours before the meeting, a file dropped onto computer screens on every floor of the hospital. A password-protected folder called Hope Facts. At the same time, a video started playing on the smart screen in the chairman's office. It was surveillance footage of me being held on a gurney in the emergency room. A nurse was looking at the door and saying, "He's just a black man. He doesn't have insurance. We can't prioritize." All eyes froze on that sentence. But it wasn't over. The dossier contained an analysis of cases that had not been prioritized over the years. Statistics, names, evidence, and most importantly, testimonies. Testimonies of former employees who were silent, but are no longer silent. As the chaos grows, I was sitting in my car outside the building. Classic jazz was playing on the radio, a hot coffee in my hand, and a calm smile on my face. Then my phone rang. It was one of the hospital administrators. I didn't answer. Then I got a message. "Did you do this?" My answer was only 3 words. I didn't do it. The truth did. The next morning we were on the national news. Racism scandal at Hope Memorial Hospital. The board of directors resigned. The chief physician was suspended. And that day, a banner was hung over the hospital's front door in big letters that read, "Human life does not change according to color." But the most striking part of the story was still to come. A week later, the former chief physician gave a TV interview. We thought he was going to defend himself, but he said with tears in his eyes, "Marcus and I worked side by side for years. And that day, we left him to die, but he didn't take revenge. He showed us to us, and I won't be silent anymore." He turned to the camera and added, "Thank you, Marcus. You reminded us to be human." At that moment, my eyes welled up. And for the first time after that accident, I felt myself starting to heal. If you've listened to this story so far, you have added one more voice to the silent cry for justice. Now I want you to take 3 small but effective steps. Like this video, leave your thoughts on the story in the comments, and subscribe to stay up to date with this kind of content. Because sometimes, a life can change with a comment, and justice